Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the Coal Scene. I'm Chris Hamilton with the West Virginia Coal Association, and I'll be your host during the next half hour. We have with us today, and we're pleased to have Jeff Herholt with the West Virginia Division of Energy, who will be talking a little bit about that agency, and then we'll move into the Renewable Alternative Energy Program and talk about that program as well. And if time permits, we may even explore some of the post-mine land developments and employment numbers that have been collected by the Coalfield Economic Development Agency, which also falls within the West Virginia Division of Energy. So with that, let's begin the show, and we'll just talk to Jeff about the Division of Energy. Jeff, welcome today. We appreciate you taking time to come by and
Sure thing, Chris. Enjoy it.
Share some of your thoughts and some of the area of state law and the Division of Energy that you're responsible for. I know it's still somewhat within the infancy.
Right.
It's only been around a couple of years, and why don't we just talk about its mission and some of the objectives that it serves.
Sure. We were established during the 2007 legislative session. Our first charge was to come up with a West Virginia State Energy Plan. We termed this the West Virginia Energy Opportunities Document. And this set us on a mission of working to advance fossil energy efficiency and renewable energy resources in West Virginia. Certainly the focus has been on fossil energy. We had one significant goal of working to establish coal liquids in the state of West Virginia.
With West Virginia being the energy state that it is, and you hear all the time people with a vision that the state emerge as the nation's capital for energy production, energy efficiencies, energy technology and innovation. It seems to be a good fit, and almost seems that you would have to have a division of energy and the resources dedicated to to help spearhead and see a lot of those projects through.
Right. I mean, when you look at or take time to reflect on the energy opportunities in West Virginia, they are immense. Our most significant by far is coal. Regardless of the numbers you use, 32 billion tons of recoverable resources or 45 billion tons of recoverable resources. We have substantial coal resources for the future. And what we're seeing in West Virginia now is the adoption of new technologies that's going to enable us to cleanly use that coal for the future. In natural gas, the Marcellus resource has gone beyond everybody's expectations. We used to talk about the natural gas resource in West Virginia being 5 to 7 trillion cubic foot. They're now talking about the Marcellus from New York to West Virginia being 700 trillion cubic foot. Phenomenal resource. There are also substantial developments in West Virginia on renewable energy. When people drive around, certainly wind is our most noticeable renewable resource. We're also making strides in hydro as well, and there's one biomass plant proposed. But this speaks to West Virginia's diversity of our energy resources. We have a lot to offer. The grid is very dependent on West Virginia's energy resources. When you look at what we're able to produce our coal-based power for, you're talking 4 or 5 cents a kilowatt hour to the cost of production. When you look at the East Coast energy costs, they're ranging from 17 to 22 cents, which they're paying for energy. I mean, our entrance...
Repeat those facts. Repeat those costs.
We can produce electricity in West Virginia at 4 to 5 cents a kilowatt hour. But that's what we produce it for.
And we're certainly within the top 10, maybe top 5 or 6.
Sure. And when you're a utility, but when you get your utility bill, it's around 6 cents a kilowatt hour. Okay. But the East Coast is paying 15, 20 to 22 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity. There is significant demand for West Virginia's electricity. Principally West Virginia's coal-based electricity. We are the affordable energy's choice on the East Coast. You know, when you talk about West Virginia's coal plants being challenged, we're not challenged by any other alternative energy in West Virginia. We're challenged by environmental concerns, environmental issues. You know, we saw with the Clean Air Interstate rule, we saw in West Virginia we had $5 to $6 billion worth of investments for stacked gas scrubbers and low NOx burners. This significantly enhanced the environmental performance of our major coal plants in West Virginia. Not all coal plants got those investments.
So if I understand what you're saying, people in the Northeast, for instance, people around that reside in New York, Rhode Island, Maine, Connecticut, they're paying perhaps 3 to 4 times more for their household
that's correct.
electricity than what we are here.
That's correct.
And that's predominantly a factor of us being 90-some% coal-fired.
And you know, what you get is a tremendous difference in the price that their industrials pay and our industrial pay. We have an economic incentive to locate energy-intensive industries in West Virginia.
So that they can be viable and compete within their respective markets.
That's correct.
Mainly because of the low industrial fuel bill or cost.
And certainly the New England states are envious of our energy costs. And you can see by the recent dialogue we've had, that there is an interest in raising coal-based energy costs to kind of equalize the energy costs from coast to coast.
You know, there was I heard somewhere, I don't know, within the past year or so, someone indicated a percentage of, I think it was air or wind power that West Virginia produces. And it's a surprisingly either a high number or a high per capita. Do you recall what that is offhand, and where we rank amongst the other states? Because you clearly think of West Virginia being a coal state, and it is. But we do have other renewable power sources at the current time.
Right. We have 14,000 megawatts of coal-based power. We have 430 megawatts of wind power in place. We have a 66 megawatt farm in Tucker County, a 230 megawatt plant in Grant County, and 100 megawatt in Greenbrier County. There's an additional 500 or so megawatts that have been permitted but not developed. Again, those are numbers. You know, most states have on the East Coast have renewable portfolios. They do not have the opportunity to generate their own renewable energy. They have to import their renewable energy, and a lot of that energy is coming from this state.
Well, and another fact I heard that I believe is accurate is that West Virginia powers about 40% of all the energy that's used on the East Coast from north to south. Yeah. And that's between the coal shipments that are actually sent to those destinations, as well as the electricity that's wired to those sites.
Right. We can track coal shipments. We know where our coal goes. We're now going to be working on a project to see how we can track the electricity as well. An interesting thing, the week after we beat Maryland on the gridiron, the week after we beat Maryland, there was
the gridiron.
The gridiron, right? There was some renewable electric sales from the Pinnacle project up in Monroe County. That it was purchased by two electric users. One was Maryland University, and the other was the state of Maryland.
Wow.
Just like the week after.
Maybe there was a wager on the game.
That's right, but possibly so, possibly so.
We'll have to look into that. Let's talk about this, the state's renewable and our alternative energy portfolio. Alternative and renewable portfolio. There's been a lot of discussion about that publicly here recently. And you know, we were involved, our organization, in developing and participating as the legislation was developing through the legislature. And I'm hearing a lot of misinformation today. And you know, maybe we can just take a few minutes and attempt to clarify some of those finer points.
Okay, some fundamental information is that we only consume 1/3 of the electricity we generate. Okay, the other 2/3 is exported, mostly to the east.
Right.
Okay, when you look at the portfolio in 2025, it requires 25% of what is consumed in the state to be portfolio eligible. So that 1/4 of 1/3 equals 1/12.
So as a starter, it only deals or applies to the power that is sold to in-state utilities.
Right. So when you take those numbers, you know, when we mentioned the 14,000 megawatts of coal-based power, if we start with that number at the beginning, you end up with the portfolio eligible amount of 1,200 megawatts. You know, we have to have 1,200 megawatts in alternative and renewable energy, or our utilities, excuse me, Allegheny and Appalachian have to have that much sales from those sources to accommodate the portfolio. When you look at what are the portfolio eligible projects now in West Virginia?
But let me stop you there. That's phase 3.
That's phase 3, yes.
We're 25%.
25% at phase 3.
By 2025.
Right, and just to get, I mean, people need to be comfortable that we're not shaking up our utility sector with this bill. That what we're doing is encouraging that the utilities adopt technologies that get us to the future with coal, okay? When you look at what's going on in West Virginia, what projects are already portfolio eligible, we have 3 waste coal projects.
That currently
they're currently here for roughly 245 megawatts total. Okay, we have the legislation allows us to charge 1% off to supercritical power plants. So that 1% would be.
Is it 1% or?
It's 10% of the total.
Okay, 10%.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Good point. Okay, so that's another 120 megawatts. Okay, most plants like John Amos plant, Mountaineer plant, the Phillips Bourne plant, they have supercritical power units. So it's not hard to find those kind of units in West Virginia. We have the advanced supercritical power plant being put in place by GenPower, the Longview plant in Mon County. That's 695 megawatts. We're allowed to claim electricity.
So all that power.
All that
will
power.
Be eligible.
Right. Carbon capture and sequestration at the Mountaineer plant in Mason County, Appalachian Power is pursuing a 10% capture of the CO2. It's a 1,000 megawatt plant. 10% capture would be 200 megawatts. So that's another 200 eligible. Then we have the cold liquids plant that's going in Mingo County. They're going to generate for internal use 125 megawatts of power. That also would be eligible. You know, and that total ends up over 1,400 megawatts. You know, but in saying this, I mean, these are things we have in place now. These are indicative of the new technologies we're attracting to the state. We certainly would anticipate that by 2025 there'll be new plants, new offerings in this list as well.
Well, 2025 puts us about 15 years out.
Right.
14 plus years from today.
Right.
The legislation, as I understand it, phases or ramps up to the 25% over 3 phases.
Right. It starts in 2015, 20, and 25.
So by 2015, we're required to meet a 10%.
10%,
renewable
20, and 20.
or alternative energy.
Right.
And then by 2020, we're required to meet a 15%.
Okay.
I believe that's accurate. 10, 15, and then 25.
Okay.
But if I hear you correctly, and it was my understanding and our understanding as the bill was being developed based on all the expert testimony by federal officials, within the power generating industry, and certainly on your staff, West Virginia is pretty much in compliance with these requirements today based on the technologies and the type of generating facilities that exist around the state.
Sure. I mean, the utilities have been making investments in assuring that a significant portion of their power is produced in West Virginia. You know, we also have attracted the outside investments in things like the cold liquids plant, as well as the
Well, that sure puts a different light on this whole program.
Oh, sure. Without it, I mean, yeah.
I'm hearing it being characterized as West Virginia's cap and trade program. It'll displace
well, you know,
coal.
I assure you that we at no point had excitement or enthusiasm for the cap and trade programs that were being discussed at the national level. I mean, cap and trade, you know, to put a price on carbon does nothing to advance our energy portfolio. You know, it does nothing to reach an energy fix. You know, what we need is new technologies. We don't need higher energy costs.
You mentioned a couple things, and you know, I think it's important to point out again, or to reiterate the fact that West Virginia is a major exporter of energy.
Sure.
We export the electricity that's generated within our boundaries. We export, you know, geez, almost three quarters
of the coal we
of all the coal we mine. So we have to pay close attention to what the states that not only border West Virginia, but I think our coal is shipped to some 25 or 26 states,
right.
All told, plus the District of Columbia. Now that may very well cease here in the near future, but nonetheless we have to be concerned. And we have a very coal friendly statute that provides the framework for this renewable alternative energy program. In fact, it's one of the few that I have seen of the 20-some states that
right.
have a renewable portfolio that allows for alternative energy sources and clean coal technologies to be part of that
sure.
equation. And that's significant because
but it should be a fundamental appreciation on everybody's part.
Mm-hmm.
The coal has to be part of our energy future,
mm-hmm.
and that's what this bill, you know, sought to accomplish.
And when you mention the array of and the assortment or menu of clean coal technologies and alternative energy production that we have within the state right now, it's, you know, it kind of puts us on the map and brings us a little closer to being an energy capital of the country, because
right.
we're demonstrating how to burn coal cleanly and how to continue to use and rely and how to take advantage of the low cost fuel that we've always had
sure.
here. And I think that was one of the things that I know our legislative leaders and the governor espoused as this legislation was moving through the process. You know, it actually allows us to continue using the same amount of coal we're using today, and perhaps allows that coal to be expanded, but more importantly, it provides a model or a blueprint for all the states that use our coal to consider adopting, because all these states are looking at alternative energy sources, they're all looking at renewable portfolios, they're all, you know, looking for cleaner ways to burn
right.
coal.
Certainly, the, you know, pendulums go both ways, and you know, I think you're seeing in Kansas, in an interesting state that just moved to approve a coal project. There's an appreciation for the cost of energy is critical. You know, we can burn coal cleanly, we can burn it efficiently, and we can use coal to maintain our industrial base. And those things need to be prominent in people's minds when they make a decision about what is in our energy future.
Well, that's really significant, and all that puts a different light on the renewable and
right.
energy. The other thing I'm hearing, we just may want to clarify, it's a real minor point in all this discussion we're hearing, but we keep hearing that it was House Bill 103, when I believe that was one of the earlier bills
right.
that was enacted, but the actual bill that was that superseded that was passed subsequently was a House Bill 408, I believe,
Right.
which became the actual enrolled bill.
It was adopted in September.
Well, again, that puts all that in a different perspective.
Right.
One, we have a lot of technologies coming online that meet that definition of alternative energy. The fact that this only applies to a relatively small percentage of
Right.
the overall power that we generate, and that it's phased in over years, and currently we're already in compliance because of all these technologies being utilized around the state. So I think that's a win-win. You know, it allows the state to again emerge as an energy capital, and on the leading edge of clean coal technologies. I know everyone has been touting and rightfully so, the first commercial carbon sequestration project, but an increase or expanded use of these other alternative energies are probably just as valuable when it comes to reducing your carbon percentage and footprint.
Sure. I mean, there's a variety of energy opportunities. I mean, and there's also, not all counties have an opportunity to take advantage of our coal resources. But we're seeing wind development, for example, in counties that don't have other resource opportunities. I mean, there's a significant, biomass in itself. We're the second most forested state in the lower 48. Certainly Ohio has incredibly ambitious plans for biomass development. That will probably be an expanding market as well. I mean, we're still growing. The recession carved off like 7.8% of our national electric demand. We're now growing back our electric demand roughly 1.5% per year. Nationwide, our coal is growing at 0.5% a year. Natural gas is growing at 2% a year. It would be hard under the current climate for coal to grow. Coal will grow again, but once we have a better understanding of how coal can play the role that it should play, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. It absolutely makes sense. You mentioned that West Virginia was fourth ranking in terms of forestation of the contiguous 48.
We're the second most
second most
forested.
I missed that.
Yeah. It is interesting to see a map of overall map of the forest cover in West Virginia in 1900 and the forest cover now. I mean, in 1900 we were a state of subsistence farmers. Mm-hmm. We cleared, mm-hmm. we had small plots of land to grow on. Now we don't do that.
Is there a percentage of the state in terms of overall acreage that is assigned to that, being the second most?
We could certainly find that out. Yes.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, I've heard figures there again, used or
right.
stated. But
one of the issues with biomass is under the tailoring rule, biomass always had an exclusion as being carbon neutral. When a tree dies, it emits carbon to the atmosphere. So the general appreciation was if you burn a tree, if you burn firewood, you're not mm-hmm. contributing to greenhouse gas emissions because they would have got there anyway. But under the tailoring rule, there is no carbon neutral status granted to wood.
Really?
So that has the biomass people certainly up in arms.
I can certainly understand that. One other point I'd like for you just to talk about briefly. I know that that the West Virginia Coalfield Economic Development
Coalfield Community Development
Office is also housed within your agency.
Uh-huh.
And I'm also aware that you just recently did a survey and come up with some numbers of West Virginians or jobs that exist at post-mine land sites
sure.
around the state. And if you could just talk about that for a few minutes, because I was just absolutely astonished
sure.
at the numbers and distribution of those numbers.
Yeah, this survey was done by principally Jeff Wood in our Office of Coalfield Community Development. The idea was, everyone says, well, well, why did we surface mine? We don't use the land after mining is done, and that's not the case. I mean, our recent survey showed that there are now 13,335 jobs in West Virginia that are on surface mine properties. This is
former mine sites.
Former mine sites.
Where commercial, industrial activities are located today.
Right. I mean, if you look at some of those, Mount Hope Industrial Park, 450 jobs. Mount Olive Correctional Center, 352. The Weirton Medical Center, as you know, the town of Weirton was surface mined.
The whole town. The whole new part is on surface mining.
So Weirton Medical Center has 1,000 jobs. The federal prison in McDowell County, 1,200 jobs. Union Flooring in Mingo County, 266 jobs. Mingo County Consolidated High School is being built on surface mine property. The Morgantown Mall and Commons has 600 jobs in Mon County. The Longview Power Plant, advanced supercritical, one of the cleanest coal plants under construction now in the United States, was built on a surface mine in Monongalia County. Columbia Wood Products in Nicholas County, 270 jobs. Two schools in Raleigh County, Independence High and Middle Schools, and Coal City Elementary School. I mean, a very impressive lift. Two wind projects built on surface mine, both the Ned Power Project in Grant County and the Beech Ridge Project in Greenbrier County.
That's phenomenal. And again, those are not mining jobs.
No,
those
are not mining jobs
that were created by mining.
Right.
And one of the most intriguing things about that list and those facilities is that there's no way that those facilities would be there today because of the cost involved with site preparation primarily and getting utilities and infrastructure to those sites, but for the fact that there was mining that occurred with a plan for the future and with a plan in place to have those facilities there.
And probably the most significant one I left off the list is the FBI Center in Clarksburg.
Absolutely.
3,000 jobs.
That's amazing. Jeff, we are about out of time, and I just want to personally thank you for taking the time and bringing us up to date with some of the things you're involved with the West Virginia Division of Energy. I feel like we just scratched the surface with everything that you're doing over there, so we'll have to have you back and maybe talk about some of the other missions and objectives of the agency. So with that, thank you. And thank you for tuning in today. I hope that you found today's program to be informative, and we appreciate you tuning in. And this is all about keeping you informed on the Library Television Network. Thank you.